You don't become respected by trying harder. You become respected by changing signals. In the next 20 minutes, you will understand the exact signals that command respect and how to embed them into your daily behavior. I'm Mr. Reed, and this is the Standard Project. Follow me. If you want authority without arrogance, this is the blueprint. You've probably seen it. Two people, similar competence, similar credentials, similar work output. But one is constantly questioned, second-guessed, interrupted, dismissed. The other is listened to, deferred to, taken seriously automatically. Same room, same conversation, completely different treatment. Why? Not intelligence, not expertise, not effort. Signals. One person broadcasts signals that invite questioning, the other broadcasts signals that command respect. And most people have no idea what signals they're sending. You're trying to be competent, trying to be helpful, trying to be likable. But you're signaling uncertainty, neediness, lower status. And people respond to the signal, not the intention. They don't consciously think, this person seems uncertain, I'll dismiss them. They just feel it, and they treat you accordingly. This is social dynamics, not fairness, not meritocracy, biology. Here's the fundamental problem most people never understand. Trying to be liked is the fastest way to lose respect. These seem compatible. I want people to like me and respect me, but they're inversely correlated in practice. Susan Fisk's research on social perception shows that warmth and competence operate on two separate dimensions, and high warmth often signals lower status, while high competence can signal lower warmth. The perception trade-off. When you prioritize being liked, you become agreeable, you avoid conflict, you seek approval. You're seen as warm, but not authoritative. When you prioritize being respected, you set boundaries, you state positions, you accept conflict. You're seen as competent, but not necessarily warm. Most people try to maximize both. They want everyone to like them and respect them. So they say yes to everything, avoid disagreement, hedge their statements, constantly explain themselves, seek reassurance. And they wonder why nobody takes them seriously. Research on power and status signals shows that high-status individuals display fewer approval-seeking behaviors. They're comfortable with selective likability. They don't need everyone to like them. They need the right people to respect them. This is the shift most people never make. From, I need to be liked by everyone, to, I need to be respected by those who matter. And when you make that shift, your behavior changes. You stop over-explaining, seeking validation, apologizing unnecessarily, hedging your statements, trying to please everyone. You start speaking with certainty, setting clear boundaries, accepting disagreement, standing by your positions, being comfortable with selective disapproval. And people's treatment of you shifts immediately. Not because you became more competent, because you changed the signals. But here's what makes this difficult. It feels uncomfortable. Your brain is wired for social acceptance. When you stop seeking approval, you trigger anxiety. What if they don't like me? What if I come across as arrogant? What if I'm excluded? This anxiety is biological. For most of human history, social exclusion meant death. Your brain treats it as a threat. So when you set a boundary or disagree or stop explaining yourself, your nervous system activates. You feel uncomfortable. You want to backtrack. Most people give in to this discomfort. They backtrack, they soften, they apologize, they seek reassurance. And the respect they briefly commanded evaporates. Because people saw uncertainty. They saw status signaling, then status withdrawal. And they downgraded their assessment accordingly. The people who command consistent respect don't avoid this discomfort. They tolerate it. They set the boundary and sit with the anxiety. They state the position and don't backtrack. They accept the brief social tension. And because they maintain the signal consistently, people adjust. The initial tension passes. The new dynamic becomes normal. Respect becomes the default. But most people never get there because they can't tolerate 10 seconds of social discomfort. So they remain stuck in the pattern, seeking approval, being dismissed, wondering why they're not taken seriously. The framework breaks this pattern. So here's the framework that creates consistent respect. Status signal alignment. It's built on one principle, backed by social psychology and status dynamics. People respect what you demonstrate, not what you claim. And you demonstrate status through 3 consistent signals. Boundaries, what you will and won't tolerate. Calm delivery, how you communicate under pressure. Predictable standards, what you consistently expect and uphold. These aren't about being aggressive, they're about being consistent. Most people signal inconsistently. They set a boundary, then violate it. They state a position, then hedge it. They claim a standard, then compromise it. This creates confusion. And confusion lowers perceived status. Because high-status individuals are predictable in their boundaries and standards. You always know where you stand with them. Let me show you exactly how to build each pillar. Pillar 1. Boundaries. This is where most people fail immediately. They either have no boundaries, accepting disrespect, boundary violations, being taken advantage of, or have rigid boundaries, being inflexible, combative, creating unnecessary conflict. Neither commands respect. The doormat is exploited. The combative person is avoided or fought. Effective boundaries are clear and calm. The pattern: state the boundary clearly, without emotion, without justification, without negotiation. Example situations. Someone interrupts you in a meeting. Weak response: continue talking louder, looking flustered. Overcorrection: don't interrupt me. Aggressive. Effective boundary: pause. Wait for silence. I'll finish my point. Resume. Someone asks you to do something outside your role. Weak response: I'm kind of busy, but I guess I could try. Overcorrection: that's not my job. Defensive. Effective boundary: that's outside my current scope. You'll need to route that to appropriate person. Someone challenges your decision without basis. Weak response: over-explaining, defending, seeking validation. Overcorrection: because I said so. Authoritarian. Effective boundary: the decision stands. If you have data suggesting a different approach, I'm open to reviewing it. Notice the pattern in effective boundaries. Clear statement of the boundary. No emotional reactivity. No excessive justification. Opening for legitimate input, but decision remains yours. This requires practice. Because your instinct is either to cave immediately, avoid conflict, or defend aggressively, win conflict. Effective boundary setting is neither. It's calm assertion. This is the line. It's not personal. It's not negotiable. Next topic. And here's what's critical. You must maintain the boundary after setting it. If you set it and then cave, you've trained people that your boundaries are negotiable. This is worse than having no boundary, because now they know you're inconsistent. And inconsistency destroys respect faster than anything. Robert Cialdini's research on social influence shows that consistency is one of the most powerful principles of persuasion and status. Inconsistent behavior is perceived as low status. So when you set a boundary, expect it to be tested. Especially if you're new to this, people will push back. Your response determines everything. If you maintain it calmly, respect increases. If you cave, respect destroyed. The boundary setting protocol. Identify your actual boundaries before situations arise. What will you tolerate? What won't you tolerate? Be specific. Common boundaries to establish. Time, work hours, availability, response times. Respect, tone, interruptions, dismissive behavior. Scope, what you will and won't do. Communication, how you prefer to be contacted. State boundaries clearly when relevant. I don't respond to work messages after 7 p.m. I need you to wait until I finish speaking. That request needs to go through the proper channel. Maintain them without explanation. You don't need to justify your boundaries. Justification invites negotiation. State and maintain. This feels uncomfortable initially, especially if you're used to being accommodating. But discomfort is temporary. Respect is permanent. Pillar 2. Calm delivery. High-status individuals are calm under pressure. Low-status individuals are reactive. This is biological. Robert Sapolsky's research on social hierarchies shows that low-status individuals have higher stress reactivity. They're more emotionally volatile under pressure. People unconsciously read emotional volatility as low status, calm as high status. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Low status, more stress, more reactivity; lower perceived status, more stress; high status, less stress, more calm; higher perceived status, less stress. Most people are stuck in the low status cycle, and they don't realize their reactivity is the cause. They think, "I'm passionate. I care deeply. I'm expressing myself." But others perceive, they're reactive. They're emotionally unstable. They're lower status. The gap between intention and perception destroys authority. Calm delivery closes that gap. What calm delivery looks like: steady tone, no voice raising, no pitch fluctuation from emotion. Controlled pace, deliberate speech, no rushing when anxious, minimal physical agitation, no nervous movements, fidgeting, pacing. Emotional neutrality, especially when delivering difficult messages. This doesn't mean emotionless, it means controlled. You can express passion through content, but the delivery remains composed. Example scenarios: someone criticizes your work unfairly. Reactive response: defensive tone, raised voice; quick response, visible agitation. Calm delivery: pause. "I see you have concerns. Walk me through specifically what you're seeing." Someone questions your authority. Reactive response: "Because I'm in charge." Defensive, emotional. Calm delivery: "I've made the decision based on brief reason. We're moving forward." Someone tries to provoke you. Reactive response: taking the bait, matching their energy, escalating. Calm delivery: slight pause, measured response, refusing to match their emotional state. The pattern in calm delivery: pause before responding. This breaks automatic reactivity. Brief responses: you don't need to match their word count. Short, direct statements carry more authority. Downward inflection at end of sentences. Upward inflection signals questioning, seeking approval. Downward inflection signals certainty, completion, physical stillness. Minimize nervous movement. Stillness signals confidence. Agitation signals anxiety. The calm delivery protocol: practice the pause. When someone says something that triggers you, don't respond immediately. Take a breath, let the impulse pass, then respond. This takes practice. Your instinct is to defend immediately, especially if you're insecure about the topic. But immediate reaction is always lower status. The pause demonstrates you're not threatened. You're considering. You're in control. Lower your baseline stress. Calm delivery is easier when your nervous system isn't chronically activated. This means adequate sleep, regular exercise, stress management practices. These aren't optional. A chronically stressed person cannot maintain calm delivery under pressure. Their nervous system is already at threshold. Any additional stress triggers reactivity. Train under low stakes. Practice calm delivery in unimportant conversations first. Grocery store, coffee shop, casual interactions. Get comfortable with pausing before responding. Brief statements, downward inflection, physical stillness. Then gradually apply to higher stakes situations, team meetings, difficult conversations, confrontations. By the time you need calm delivery most, it's already habituated, not something you're trying to force. Pillar 3, predictable standards. This is the most overlooked component, and it's the most powerful. High-status individuals have clear, consistent standards. For themselves, for others, for work, for communication, and they uphold these standards predictably. Not sometimes, not when convenient, always. This predictability is what creates respect, because people know what to expect. When you're unpredictable, people don't trust you, they can't rely on you. They test boundaries constantly. They don't respect your standards because they don't believe you'll enforce them. When you're predictable, people know where they stand. They trust your word. They stop testing. They respect your standards because they know you'll enforce them. But most people are wildly inconsistent. They enforce standards based on their mood, how much they like the person, whether they feel like dealing with it, how tired they are. This destroys respect. Because now your standards aren't standards. They're suggestions, negotiable based on circumstances. Effective standards are non-negotiable, not because you're rigid, because you're consistent. Examples of predictable standards. Work quality. I don't accept work that hasn't been proofread. Every time, no exceptions. Person submits unproofread work, returned immediately with no further comment. After 3 occurrences, they stop submitting unproofread work. Not because you yelled, because the standard is predictable. Communication. I respond to emails within 24 hours during business days. Always, predictably. This sets expectations. People know when to expect responses. No anxiety. No chasing. Respect. I don't continue conversations when voices are raised. Standard stated clearly. Voice gets raised. You calmly say, "We'll continue this when we can speak calmly," and disengage, every time, predictably. After twice, people stop raising their voice with you because they know the consequence. The power of predictable standards. You don't have to enforce them harshly. You just have to enforce them consistently. People adapt to predictability. If they know you'll always enforce a standard, they stop violating it. They adjust their behavior to your standard. If they know enforcement is variable, they keep testing. They violate whenever they think they can get away with it. The predictable standards protocol. Define your standards clearly. What quality of work do you expect? What communication responsiveness do you commit to? What behavior will you not tolerate? Common standards to establish. Quality. What meets your bar versus what doesn't? Timeliness. Response times, deadline adherence. Communication. Tone, directness, respect. Follow-through, keeping commitments. Communicate standards early. Don't wait until they're violated. State them up front. Here's what I expect. This is how I work. When you commit to something with me, enforce consistently. This is the hard part. You will be tired. You will want to let something slide. You will feel like making an exception. Don't. Every exception teaches people your standards are negotiable. The standard must be the standard. Always. If you realize a standard is wrong, change the standard. But don't inconsistently enforce it. This creates predictability. And predictability creates respect. Here's practical takeaway. 1. The pause is the highest status communication tool available. Most people are terrified of silence. Someone asks a question, someone challenges them, someone waits for their response, and they fill the silence immediately, often with low status signals. Well, you know, I think maybe. Does that make sense? The pause is different. Someone asks you a difficult question. You don't respond immediately. You look at them. You consider, you pause, then you respond. This communicates, I'm not reactive. I'm thoughtful. I'm not intimidated by your question. I'm comfortable with silence, and silence makes most people uncomfortable. So they start filling it, often revealing information, often backing down from their challenge, often demonstrating their discomfort while you demonstrate calm. The pause protocol. When asked a difficult question, don't rush to answer. Take a breath. Consider your response. Let 2 to 3 seconds pass, then answer. This feels like forever initially. It's not. It's professional thoughtfulness. When someone challenges you, same pattern. Pause. Let the challenge sit in the air. Don't defend immediately. Consider, then respond, or don't. Sometimes no response is the highest status move. When criticized unfairly, pause. Slight eyebrow raise. No verbal response. Move on to next topic. This communicates, that doesn't merit a response, more powerfully than any defense could. Practice the pause in low-stakes conversations, casual questions, simple interactions. Get comfortable with 2 to 3 seconds of silence before responding. Then apply to high-stakes situations. Meetings, negotiations, confrontations. The pause becomes your default, and your status increases automatically. Practical takeaway. 2. Limit explanations to 2 sentences maximum. Over-explanation is the most common low-status signal. Someone asks why you made a decision. Low status response. 5-minute explanation covering every variable, every consideration, every possible concern, seeking validation through thoroughness. High status response. I evaluated the options and this was the best path forward. Happy to discuss specific concerns if you have them. The pattern. Low status people over-explain because they're seeking approval. They want you to understand their reasoning. They want you to agree. They want you to validate their decision. High status people state their position and stop. They're not seeking approval. They've made the decision. You can agree or not. Either way, the decision stands. The 2-sentence rule. First sentence. What you decided / what your position is. Second sentence. Very brief why or invitation for legitimate concerns. Stop. Examples. Why did you choose this approach? Low status. Well, I thought about several different options, and originally I was considering X, but then I realized that Y might be better because of Z, and then I asked a few people and they said, high status. This approach best addresses our primary constraints. If you have data suggesting a better alternative, I'm open to reviewing it. I disagree with this decision. Low status. Okay, well, let me explain why I think this is right, because if you look at all these factors, high status. I've noted your disagreement. The decision stands unless new information emerges. Can you justify this choice? Low status. Long defensive explanation. High status. I evaluated against our criteria, and this met them best. What specific concern do you have? Notice the pattern. Brief statement. No defensiveness. Invitation for legitimate input. But decision remains yours. This requires confidence. Because your instinct when challenged is to explain everything, to prove you're right, to seek validation, resist it, state your position. 2 sentences max. Stop. If they have legitimate concerns, they'll raise them. Then you can address them specifically. But you're not preemptively defending your decision to everyone. Here's practical takeaway 3. Audit your consistency weekly. Most people have no idea how inconsistent they are. They set a boundary Monday, violate it themselves Wednesday, wonder why nobody respects it Friday. The consistency test. Every week ask yourself, what standards did I state this week? Which ones did I uphold completely? Which ones did I compromise? Be brutally honest. Did you say you don't respond to emails after 7 p.m., then respond at 9 p.m.? Inconsistent. Did you say you expect proofread work, then accept unproofread work because you were busy? Inconsistent. Did you say you'd deliver something Tuesday, then deliver it Thursday without communication? Inconsistent. Every inconsistency teaches people. Your word isn't reliable. Your standards are negotiable. Your boundaries can be pushed. The consistency protocol. Track your stated standards and boundaries. Write them down. What did you say you would do? What did you say you wouldn't do? What did you say you expected from others? At week's end, review the list. Check. Did I uphold each one? If yes, maintain. If no, why and how to prevent. Common failure points. Fatigue. Too tired to enforce standard. Conflict avoidance. Didn't want the confrontation. Convenience. Exception seemed easier. Liking. Made exception for someone you like. Fatigue. Fewer, stronger standards. Don't set standards you can't maintain when tired. Conflict avoidance. Remember, brief discomfort now versus permanent loss of respect. Convenience. Remember, short-term ease versus long-term authority. Liking. Standards must be universal. No exceptions based on relationship. The goal, 100% consistency. Not perfection in standards, but complete consistency in enforcement of whatever standards you set. If you can't maintain a standard consistently, lower the standard or eliminate it. But don't keep a standard you enforce inconsistently. That's worse than no standard. After 4 to 6 weeks of consistent enforcement, you'll notice the shift. People stop testing. They adapt to your standards. Respect becomes automatic. So here's what you need to understand at the deepest level. Serious men don't demand respect. They make it the default. Through signals, not words. You can't talk your way into respect. You can't explain your way into authority. You can't convince people you're high status. You demonstrate it. Through boundaries consistently maintained, through calm delivery under pressure, through predictable standards reliably enforced. And when these are aligned, people treat you differently. Not because you demanded it, because you signaled it. They listen when you speak. They defer to your judgment. They respect your time. They accept your boundaries. They meet your standards. Not all of them, not immediately, but consistently, over time. And here's what's critical. This isn't manipulation. This isn't being fake. This is alignment. You're not pretending to have standards you don't have. You're actually establishing and maintaining them. You're not faking calm. You're developing genuine composure. You're not performing boundaries. You're creating real ones. This is becoming someone who commands respect, not trying to appear that way, and people can tell the difference instantly, unconsciously. When it's real, your signals are consistent. Your behavior matches your stated standards. Your calm is genuine, not forced. Your boundaries hold under pressure. When it's performance, your signals are inconsistent. You slip when stressed. You backtrack when tested. You seek validation when challenged. The difference is everything. Real authority is automatic. Performed authority is exhausting, and only one lasts. Build the signals, maintain them consistently. Let respect become the natural response. Now, if you want to understand the psychology of professional presence, not charisma, not personality, but the specific behavioral structure that controls how people perceive you the moment you enter a room, the next video reveals the complete framework. You'll discover the presence triad: stillness, clarity, and predictability. The three elements that make people take you seriously before you speak. Watch it next. One standard. Greatness. One project. You.